Well, so sorry, do you mind continuing the thought you were having about how you don't think that white has enough if black gets the king to d7?
Yes, because when you go queen d4, I'll step away, king e8, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you go queen h8 check, I go king takes d7, queen takes h7, and then queen takes d5. And you're going to have this queen d1 here, d5 checks.
Yep.
So maybe this might fizzle out, but you can see that the position was untenable for Yan. I mean, he can't wait with the bishop on f8. He has to get out with king f8 here, because this h6 pawn is it's quite a monster.
Right. So he runs away from the neural network h6 pawn. Still no move in the game between MVL and Alexander Grischuk. I think the other game we might want to get Vichy's thoughts on, if we can, is the Ding Liren Anish Giri game, Robert. That game seems to be getting closer and closer to one where Anish is proving he can hold.
Yeah.
I think he's basically safe, isn't he?
Yeah, he looks safe now. But earlier I was loving Ding's position, but with the trades that have ensued, it looks to me like black should be okay here, right?
But he's not completely home and dry. Let's see. I have to play c4 and c3 now, I think.
To stop king d2, king c3.
I mean, alternately, I can allow white to go to c3 and wait passively. That I guess is also possible, but I'd like not to do it, right?
Yeah.
So let's say I go c4, bishop c2, c3. Then you have rook a3.
Right.
And now it's tricky for me. I probably have to play rook a6.
And the point here, everybody, is if white takes e4, the a4 pawn falls. If you take c3, maybe the a4 pawn falls, but that's why you play rook a6, is so that rook c3 can be met by bishop a4 and rook a3.
And rook a3, yeah, bishop b5. But
yeah.
This way we're getting 2 versus 3. I mean, I think 2 versus 3 is fairly safe. So I wanted to do rook a6. If you play a5, then I can go bishop b5, bishop d3. And then I'm fine, because then you will not be able to crawl up the board. So I'm within my drawing zone.
But e4 is hanging, right?
You mean now if you play... Oh, you mean without rook takes c3. Ah, that's true.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
So then after a5, I would have to play f5.
f5
finally.
To hold.
But now my threat would be bishop b5, d3.
Yeah.
And I think it doesn't work for you anymore here. Correct.
Yeah, in fact, white can't even do anything, because as soon as you leave the a5 pawn, black will take it, and trying to bring your king around somehow doesn't seem too feasible.
Yeah, it's too slow.
Yep.
So if we step back to a4 with the pawn on a4, yeah, I think rook a6 may... c4, c3, and rook a6 may be a way to go.
Well, we see that in the live position, still no move has been played by Ding Liren, but we do have a little bit of action back again in MVL Grischuk. So let's head over. Rook d1 check. Vichy's suggestion was played. And king e7 rather than taking the pawn.
But now I would like to play rook c7 takes g7.
Right, you don't even bother with b7. You try to get these two passed pawns over here on the king
I really
side.
want the connected passed pawns if I can. Yeah. But you might just play a4 anyway, and rook g5, then you have rook hg8 maybe.
Very nice.
And if I take, you will use the a pawn to win the g pawn, and that's it.
Right.
Yep.
So rook d4, a3, and not in time to protect with the king.
Yep. Okay. Go back to the live position. If that's the case, is there something...
It's honestly a very clever move, because, rook d7 check, then I take on e6, or, rook c7 check, then I take on e6, and you lose out the opportunities to force the king to g8. So
correct.
Grischuk he's a wily defender. He's never going to go down without a fight, but I still believe in his position in terms of holding this because of that a pawn.
Yeah.
Yes. No, clearly that's what he had reckoned with, and so good foresight by him, but...
well, this could end up being one that MVL
perhaps have to revisit this line. It seems it's given Maxime a lot more than we get in the Grunfeld these days. So, I mean, in the Berlin.
Yeah, well, I was going to say it could be one that he really regrets as a missed opportunity, because not only did he seemed to be close to a winning position, but Grischuk was also under so much time pressure that if he doesn't convert or find some way to get something here, he's going to regret it.
Yeah, but maybe this one is settling in now. If Rook C7, King E6, and push the a pawn ahead and attack G4. Seems like a decent formula.
Is that something you struggle with psychologically as a top player? Obviously, you've played in many of these events and against all these guys. Is there a hangover effect? How quickly do you have short-term memory where you don't beat yourself up at sort of a missed opportunity?
It depends. I mean, sometimes you see it right away at the board what you've done, and then you're furious. But sometimes things move along, and other games influence your thoughts, and well, you basically move along the tournament.
Right.
But I have a feeling in this tournament with 3 guys tied on +1, you will kick yourself every chance. You feel if you were able to squeeze more out of it, then could be leading.
Right.
So that's going to be a factor here.
But so there is a little bit of an emotional kind of hangover, if you will, right? I mean, does a rest day help that sometimes? Just to
yes, I mean, a rest day is very nice, I think, to calm down after winning and to forget about losing both ways.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I win 2 or 3, you're getting euphoric, and that's not healthy either. So a rest day is very, very welcome in that case, because it allows you to calm down and in a good mood. And because the worst things to lose the game before the rest day, but
I will say I like how Fabiano's playing. Again, not going for the forcing lines. He's going full alpha 0 here. He's just gonna keep the pressure of the H pawn. I'm not gonna allow any forced way out of my mating net ideas. Queen F6 is on the agenda, everybody, and if a move like King E7 is played, I think Bishop D4, or no, Bishop G5 check is just winning. Okay.
Yes. But what if I go King E8 here?
Okay.
And then what do you do?
It's funny. I was going to say Queen F6, but wait a second.
Well, it kind of transposes, right? I go Queen D5, Queen H8, King D7 takes, and I do my...
Yeah, you do your little wheel of checks.
You can maybe do like an inchworm idea. You can play Queen E4 check now.
Well, King D7.
Is there?
Wait, but this is getting unpleasant. If I go Queen G4 check.
Yeah, I was gonna say if I play Queen
F5
G4
and then Queen D4.
Now.
Then I have a more advanced version. Also,
now we're talking.
Yeah, it's a situation where pushing your pawns forward is actually really bad for you, because once H7 falls, G6 also is a goner, and you lose out on some checks by having your pawn on F5.
But I think you really have to. Well, now maybe Queen C3 works.
On the board in the live position, you mean Queen C3?
Yeah, Queen C3. Because I think it just holds together long enough to breathe.
Right.
Because Black really doesn't want to push anything unnecessarily. Oh, I really like Queen C3.
I'm going to get greedy for a second. Is there a clear problem with Queen takes A2 instead of Queen C3? Are you going to Bishop? Oh, and I don't have this.
Well, Queen D8 is mate.
Oh, so Queen D8 is mate. It's funny because I saw that mate way long ago, like we were, many moves ago, and now I forgot about it, and that's the problem.
Oh, Queen E1 check has been played, by the way. I think we'll quickly see King G2. Why not go to G2, I guess? In terms of the time pressure, we know that Jan
I mean, I'd be very impressed if Fabi played King H2 and that turned out to be the winning move, but I don't think it's
so King G2 then, you agree.
So let's go with King G2. But why did he provoke King G2? I thought White wanted it.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of is he wants the king obviously on the D5 square if that pawn is ever captured later with check, right?
Mm-hmm. But I mean, we can do this in so many ways. After Queen C3, if I want to go, I can go Queen A1 check Queen E5, and then I get the same result. Why do it so early?
Is he going to play F5?
Huh.
Indeed.
To keep white totally stuck.
Oh, that's interesting. That is nice.
The queen the queen can't move from f3.
I mean, you can play. Oh no, bishop g5. You have queen e4.
Yeah, and in fact, black is better now.
Yeah, suddenly. Oh wow.
If he you see what I said? So king h2 was the correct move. After f5, I could go bishop f4.
King h2, f5, bishop f4, and there's no queen e4 trading.
There's bishop c5, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, and d6. Yeah, this is.
It's getting closer to a position where white is reopening the door for black to get winning chances.
Queen e1 is very alert then. King g2, you play f5. If I go g4, you go queen b1, and then you're threatening to exchange queens. So that's the end of that.
That's a very, very nice idea. Queen to b1, guards f5. And the point, everybody, is if the queens come off the board, we're liking black's chances, not just because of the long-term Grunfeld 2-on-1, but suddenly h6 turns from an asset to a weakness very quickly, right? So the part of to translate the storyline of how we're all evaluating this, if f5 can put white in a tough spot and these queens are traded, Nepomniachtchi is doing very well suddenly. Look at that. King g2 has been played. We'll find out. Oh, f5's been played. Is Jan playing for a win suddenly?
Well, I think f5 was necessary just to stop all these queen f6 ideas. So it's a necessity.
He could still have gone back to c3, but sure. Why not f5?
Yeah, it feels more in Jan's style. Instead of kind of groveling and shuffling back and forth, you play a move like f5, and I don't know. I mean, Vichy, I'm thinking that, and Danny seems to think the same, that black is the one who's going to be trying to press this one.
I agree.
Wow.
I think I don't even see a way for him to avoid the exchange of queen now.
Well, and if they come off again, it's what we've been kind of saying throughout the beginning of the game. The storyline switches very quickly if the queens are off the board. And so it turns out my queen f3 wasn't so good in the end. Maybe he should have gone queen d4 instead of queen f3.
Yeah.
Who knew? Who knew that the move I suggested could possibly be bad?
That's right. Very alert.
Yeah, queen e1 and f5.
And you already have me thinking, like, because bishop f4, there might be even a capture on f4 and queen e4 still. Yeah. And some of these king and pawning games are going to be really bad for white.
What a quick turnaround here. And again, Nepomniachtchi managing, I think, the defense of this position really, really well. Keeping Caruana at bay, not even under any kind of bad time pressure. They only have 8 moves to reach time control, the opposite of Grischuk's situation, although he also seems to be holding. I kind of want to check back on Ding Liren and Ishigiri, because that game just, I feel like, is not going the way we think it's going to go every time. If we go back there, Ishigiri has a king on c5, and he's held on to the c-pawn. I mean, I don't think black could possibly be better, of course, but this just, I don't know, this doesn't seem to be the way I thought this game was going to go, with Ding Liren having been better earlier.
We were talking a couple of days about reminding me of bad memories. I think this one is going to, Anish is reminding himself, because he lost a game like this with Vachier in, I think, Paris Blitz and Rapid or something, where exactly this position, he had a king on c5 and a pawn on c4, and he overpressed. He lost, I think a5, bishop b5 happened, and then instead of making a draw, somehow he lost that pawn. And then, in fact, Maxime won. So,
well, I'm glad I'm no longer the person who brings up the bad memories. I've,
but you're still the only one bringing it up with your co-commentator. But anyway,
he reminds me of bad memories all the time. So, welcome to my world here.
Okay. I liked c3, but I can't say there's anything wrong with this. That king is so dominant that I think has the same effect of squashing any plans that white has on this side. Maybe white can go all the way with rook h1 or something, but it's hard to believe.
I'm wondering
all I have to do is to make a move like g6 first, and I should be okay.
Can I start going, looks very speculative, but like some kind of g4 and push that pawn even to g5?
G4, let me play g5 and f6, and then how do you progress?
Yeah, maybe I just regret it, but I'm trying to.
I think it's equal, but I can't see any way for white to make progress here.
Yeah, it's the thing is with the rook on a6, for the viewers watching, you need to keep that rook on a light square so the bishop can retreat and protect it. So, for example, if black had played instead of rook a6, like g6 or something.
Yeah, and then you end up taking the pawn here just to show the line, right? Rook a1.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a big problem.
If the rook were on a6, bishop b5 would save the day. So this is part of, I mean, the other key thing about the rook on a6 is, aren't we threatening to play rook f6 in some positions? Maybe. I mean, I'll point out that if something happens where white does nothing, rook f6, a5 can be met by bishop b5. I'll blockade on a6 with the bishop maybe, and f2 is a problem? I don't know.
But bishop takes e4.
Well, you have to watch out for bishop takes e4.
Ah, this would be how Giri would overpress.
But if you had a rook on a1, I think black
I was trying to show the line, as you said, where what's the variation where Anish Giri overpresses and loses? That's the variation right there. So.
Yeah. Well, I should look it up and see exactly how he lost, but it was like this. You thought that he couldn't lose, and suddenly
he did, right? Remind everybody of something Vishy Anand has done twice. The winner of the Candidates Tournament will challenge Magnus Carlsen for the World Championship title. Quick shout out to any new viewers who are here and wondering what's it all about. Back in this MVL game, speaking of maybe pushing things too far that Caruana might have done against Ian Nepomniachtchi, is MVL going too far away from this A-pawn? I'm starting to wonder if...
he should always be able to run back and at least stop it on a1, but that would make black's draw very easy, I think.
Right.
Because you then just hold the... So let's see, if I go rook b5, would you bother with rook a7, or would you just play a3 and try to push it all the way back? Maybe just a3.
a3, rook takes, run the king up.
King. Yeah, I guess d6 is better.
Wait, then there's rook d7 check.
King c5.
Okay, rook. So I'm just gonna go rook d1, but yeah, you're gonna go rook b8, and I'm not gonna be anywhere near.
No, actually, after I play a2, rook d1, I want to play king d5, rook e2, rook h8, and just here king d5, and if rook e2, play rook a4, for instance, and start. All your pawns are loose, and quite a few will drop off, I think.
Yeah, I'm still trying to somehow make e7 work, but it's
maybe c4 check works somewhere, but
some sort of gorilla pawn.
Yeah, or g5, yeah.
Yeah, if I get to keep my e pawn, I don't really care about the g pawn, so I'm just gonna try to go e7 and c4 check and all that stuff. But this feels
maybe
like
instead of rook a4, I should first play rook h8 and try to collect that pawn.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So e7 still,
and then king d6. But you're saying that I'm not actually threatening.
Yeah, I was going to try some kind of c4, c5, c6, but that doesn't work either. So
yeah, no.
And then rook d1 check.
There might be actually tactical issues collecting the pawn back. So
you actually rook d1 check here just wins for
maybe
white, right?
Maybe rook b5, rook a7 is just sensible.
Which position with rook?
In the beginning, Danny.
So rook b5 and just rook a7. Let's be pragmatic here and then just play rook a7. I mean, it can even be rook fb8 actually, because if you go back to g5, I go back to g8, and that's it.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
And then just play a3, a2, and come out. So one or the other.
Yeah, that looks like the hold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't see any way forward for Maxime here, because you need to stop the a-pawn. If that a-pawn runs, then it's all of a sudden white who's the one trying to make a draw. So I think that rook b5, rook g5 line is maybe pretty likely to happen. And for Grischuk, you reach move 40, you have more time to think. Yep. So he'll be confidently holding this game. And what a save it will be, because Grischuk had 3 good positions in the first 3 rounds, made draws in all of those games. And now with the black pieces in a worse position, it looks like he's going to survive. So a very mixed tournament thus far for Alexander Grischuk.
Yeah, indeed. If you're just joining us, we were all talking about the potentially critical moment as being back here on move 30 when Grischuk was still under serious time pressure. And by all accounts, it seemed that White should be moments away from converting on something, although Wesley So did suggest a very creative defense on rook e4 in the chat with this move knight c3. But still, I wonder if...
He said that instead of bishop a3 check, rook e4 first was the precise move order.
Ah. And the difference is that now there's no bishop e6.
Well, there is, but after bishop e6, you take the bishop on e6, and apparently there's some kind of bishop g5 check stuff, if I'm remembering correctly.
Okay,
right,
so king e8, rook f3, knight c5, and rook ef4, and I get to f7. Maybe that's
something like this. There's still knight d7 here, but
no, rook f7.
Rook e7. I missed it. Sorry.
Yeah. So maybe that's the line here.
Okay.
Yeah, something very deep, but I remember looking earlier and I
really couldn't see that why bishop a3 was necessary, and now it turns out it's simply unnecessary.
Yep.
Your intuition was correct.
Yeah,
well, I mean, even for the world's best players, Vichy, I mean, how is it always a psychological struggle when your opponent is under so much time pressure to not play some quick moves there? I mean, it just feels like the way we saw Maxime handle this, he had more than an hour on the clock, and it's easy for us to be critical, we understand that, but it just seems that he mismanaged taking time because maybe trying to make some moves quickly and get Grischuk under even more problems on the clock.
Yeah, that's generally a classic error. I mean, one that goes into the list of things that simply must not be done.
Right.
It's a very fine art to blitz someone, and I think blitzing someone too early, you can just about try this when the other person is down to seconds. But even there, I don't think it's been a successful strategy for me. When people are with seconds and you present them with choices like that, sometimes it turns out they...
Right.
When I played Karpov the first time, I remember getting the distinct feeling that he, in fact, aimed for this. Sometimes he would have like 5 minutes for the last 7 moves, and he would inexplicably spend 4 minutes thinking and then start blitzing. And you get caught up in this because you got so excited. Hey, he's down to seconds, and I can do this. And it turned out he spent those 4 minutes calculating some lines very exactly. And then he lets you blitz and you blunder here and there, and then he converts everything.
Classic Karpov.
So, it's, I think, one of the deadly sins, simply.
Yep. Well, and it's hard. It's easier for us to let you be kind of honest and critical about that because it's something that the best players in the world struggle with. It's harder for us to feel like critical of Maxime but clearly we could tell that he was mismanaging his time and letting the advantage slip as he was playing too quickly.
Also, I mean, to be fair, it's hard. It was hard in advance to know what's the difference between bishop a3 and the thing.
For sure.
Sometimes it looks like that knight is even more loose. But you have this thing that sometimes these extra moves, the bishop turns out to be simply misplaced or something, but you can't know that in advance. There's no way to figure it out.
Well, we can go wherever you guys want.
For Alexander now.
Yeah, should be a draw. We haven't looked at the Wang Hao game against Alexeyenko at all since we've had you. I don't know if we want to take a quick peek here. It looks like
I want to take Vichy back to that a takes b3 and knight takes b3 decision.
Okay.
Yes, I suggested knight b3 in the Spanish side actually.
I can't for the life of me understand a takes b3. So Vichy, I'm hoping you can illustrate not just to everyone watching, but also to me why you would ever play a takes b3 here
instead of knight takes. Yeah.
I mean, knight b3 just seemed obvious. No, you play a4, bishop b5, bishop a3, everything.
Yeah.
I can't explain it, but or just a4, a5.
Yeah, just a4. So you're saying
fairly
Robert's
comfortable pawn, isn't it? That's all.
You're saying Robert's putting you in a tough spot to explain a bad move. That's how I feel all the time. So.
Yeah, maybe black can do some knight b6, a5, knight c4, pawn sack for the light squares or something, but
it feels like, a desperate measure just to but maybe it holds in the end, but this is clearly a better version than what happened in the game.
yeah.
Sure.
I was suggesting knight b3, and I was kind of surprised with ab3, but ab3 also he's hoping for the slight queen side edge. He goes rook a5, bishop a3, b4, and his pieces are just ever so slightly better. By the way, was b6 a good decision? What happens if c6 now?
In the live position?
In the current game position. Hasn't it actually become kind of interesting now?
So you're giving
again
me
for Wang Hao?
Okay, so c6, bishop b4.
Bishop takes b4.
c7?
And first, c7, I think you go rook f8, and I don't have a way through.
Okay.
But can I maneuver my knight around? Can I play e4 here?
Oh.
Wow, that's a strong idea. The point, everybody, if d takes, you open up the c4 square for the knight.
Right, and then and now c7 and all will come with more effect.
Yeah, suddenly c7 and knight b6 is winning. That's Vichy's idea here behind e4. And if you take d2, you take f5, and suddenly c7 and bishop a6 is just winning by force. So, sorry, just translating some of the obvious tactics to make sure everyone's following. So what's the point? On e4, you'd have to play like bishop e6 and just keep it?
But then I would take bishop takes and then play
c7.
Well, now c7 actually works.
c7. Well, then the question is it? No, and bishop a6 wins.
Yeah.
Because when you go rook c7, bishop takes d2, I'll have rook d7.
Yep.
Which I wouldn't have if I had played bishop d7. So.
Wow. Okay, so.
But you could go to f8 actually after c7. But then knight c4 or bishop c4, it should be winning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bishop
Maybe
c4.
Bishop c4 is more exact because then I just win clinically.
Yeah, you just force the pieces off the board.
Knight c4 and bishop c5 and then rook b7 and rook b8.
Yep, that pawn's becoming a queen. So
sometimes you make chess look so easy, Vichy. Has anyone ever told you that? You're making this look easy. I love this. Okay, so
on a good
e4,
day.
So what do you do on e4 then? I mean,
I think you take it.
I think I would have to play d4.
Yep, and knight c4, bishop c5, and
bishop c5, and try to claim that I'm dominating the bishop.
I'm hoping
and the other bishop, the knight and the other bishop is still controlling c8, so I'm not losing material. I'm not thrilled, but it seems to be enough.
But if you're Wang Hao, this feels like the practical try because all other moves feel like black is getting out of this totally unscathed, right?
Yeah. Also, if I start here with rook b7,
yeah,
then where are you going? You
go all the way to f8, but then b6 falls.
But thanks to this bishop on f5, it's not like black is lost because that c pawn still hasn't queened. And
wait. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, it's a position you're saying where, okay, clearly white's better, but it's not like black is just busted here. He's actually in an ideal kind of defensive setup.
Right. And he has an extra pawn. And especially if he can bring his rook around, let's say rook d8, c7, rook d1 check, and rook c1.
Right.
That's a much better defensive setup than to wait on the other side. So.
That's a great point, just instructive for the viewers to not settle on the passive rook and look for an active way to... if something like this happens and you get the rook here, black is in a much better defensive setup to hold this. So, okay, interesting.
Can black start with a more active rook instead of playing rook f8? Can you play rook?
Yeah, maybe rook d8 immediately.
I didn't want to allow c7 with tempo, but let's see. So c7.
So check.
But then you go rook d1 check, king g2.
And I was just going to go rook c1, rook c2, but I don't know if I have time for it.
But here I collect a piece, and then maybe you have enough compensation actually.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try this.
You also have this strange move e3, by the way. Like, maybe.
Oh.
But I would go rook b8 check, king g7, and then play knight takes e3. But then you can take and go rook
But I
c1.
thought I can take and I get rook c1.
Yep. You do.
Yeah. No, this is what I was saying we could do in a totally different position. So you're right. Then it's not so easy. So e4, d4, knight c4, bishop c5, and then try to rush in with rook d8. Maybe rook b7 is too slow. Maybe I should start with c7.
Right, prevent rook d8, actually.
That way I take away d8 and then...
So now when the rook moves, even if you just go for at least black doesn't have this rook d8 idea. But okay, it seems like Alexeyenko should be in a decent position to hold. By the way, both sides under mutual... Oh, e4 has been played. Look at this. We're predicting the main game, but only 3 minutes for Wang Hao for the next 11 moves. 7 minutes for Alexeyenko. This is going to be a mutual time scramble.
Wait, we haven't looked at this, but now I'm just thinking, after d4, can I just play knight takes e4?
If bishop takes e4?
And then c7?
Rook c8?
Okay, but yeah, black's not going to... Well, bishop d7?
Rook c7?
Yeah, you have to take c7.
Rook c7 and now bishop d5. And then I'll play bishop c5. And I've got my two bishops are attached to pawns, which is obviously what I want.
Maybe white has bishop e6 check intermezzo and then takes.
Okay. Then king h8. Well, king h8, I think.
Right.
Rook takes c7 and then go bishop c5 and play f5, bishop f3, e4. How are you going to make progress?
I don't know, but at least I'm not in any danger of losing this one. And I know that if I played the other line, I might blunder in a million different ways.
You can go for an unsound alpha zero attack, h4, h5.
E4 as well. And he has gone d4. Okay. So we can see if knight takes e4. But I think it's just probably a bit weak.
On the live board there, we see d takes e4 was played.
And now, yeah, let's see knight c4.
Okay.
I feel like with 2 minutes left, and if I'm Wang Hao, I can't see everything here. So knight takes e4 feels like the safe option. Knight c4 feels like I need to win this game, and I'm trying to take the lead of this candidates tournament. But it does have the risk of having to make 10 moves in 2 minutes with the increment, but you're down 2 pawns to start with, and your king isn't so safe. Vichy, which do you think is going to happen here? I have no idea.
I mean, I just don't think knight takes e4 is the move of a man who has just played e4. I think black wasn't in any danger of winning this if white just went knight f3 or something. So I'm trying to... So maybe you could argue his knight is quite misplaced then, and black has time for rook c8 and bishop d6 or something. Well, let's see. I don't really expect knight e4. It seems like an abrupt change of heart to me, but...
Is there any merit to throwing in c7 first, where you haven't kind of chosen yet? Because if you play c7, the rook, where's the rook going?
I wanted to do rook f8, right?
Right, and then, okay, so if the rook goes all the way to f8, do we go back to knight c4, obviously hitting b6, so bishop c5 is played. But now there's no rook on c8, bishop d6 ideas. Rook b7, I guess you're kind of slow playing. I don't know.
But
I mean, is this not like a 2-result position for white? But
isn't there just bishop c8 and then the king starts marching towards the pawn?
I guess
king
so.
f7.
By the way, looks like it doesn't matter because knight takes e4 has been played. We may get that exchange sacrifice line we've already looked at that runs bishop e4, c7, rook c8, and then takes.
Okay, let's ask Nostradamus here what happens after this.
Okay, it's happening on the board, by the way. c7 has been played. If we get this line, I think we'll see bishop e6 check first, and then rook c7, bishop c5. As Vichy said, black seems to be holding this endgame just fine. But
okay, so then it seems that Wang Hao evaluated this. I mean, I thought with that pawn on c6, it was quite safe. But it seems that Wang Hao evaluated his position as worse if he had moved the knight. And so e4, in fact, was to clinch the draw.
Yeah, actually, it seems like this now at the rook f8, it should be even easier to hold the draw, right? Because if you play bishop d7, or he throws in the check. But
actually, what is the draw here? Bishop d7, bishop f5, c8, rook c8, bishop c8, and that's a draw as well.
Yes.
So yeah. Yeah, and just to show the line, everybody, if bishop f5, c8, takes, bishop takes, white wins the bishop, but it doesn't matter. This is an easily drawn endgame for black with 2 pawns for the exchange.
Yep.
So you think that was the evaluation, that Wang Hao actually evaluated his chances as worse if he doesn't take knight takes e4 or anything with knight c4?
Yeah, No, in fact, I think he thought he was worse if he didn't play e4.
All right. Okay. Interesting.
Because e4, because knight c4, bishop c5, it looks very tempting to play with this bishop on b5 and pawn on c6.
Right.
But you make 5 more moves and suddenly black can improve his position, and I can't see how white can. So.
Right. That happens to me a lot. Lose a lot of games. But yeah, okay. So bishop f5 played, and we're going to get the exchange. The exchange up endgame for white with no real winning chances that has been predicted.
Actually, I think Alexeyenko could have played bishop c5, allowed c8, rook c8, bishop c8, and played bishop f3 and e4 and f5. I'm not claiming he really has winning chances, but it's a much cooler way to draw. Play bishop f3 here and then play e4 and f5. I think this is slightly unpleasant for
white.
For white, but
yeah, if anybody's pushing, it's almost
but black. It's not really better for black. So,
by the way, let's quickly flash over to the MVL. Maxime looks like he's kind of just agreed that he blew this one and it's going to be a draw. Wait, yes. No. That's clearly a relay slip. Look at that. The move is rook takes g8, and the relay says black played rook f8. I'm pretty sure that's a we call that a DGT error, digital game transmission error.
Yeah, that move most certainly did not happen.
Yeah. So
it must be even better when the rook captures on g8 and keeps sliding along to q8 or something.
Yeah. It happens from time to time. So rook, okay, looks like we've been reset. The trade happened on g8. Rook takes h4, h5. I think we're going to see an extension of hands here, a draw or no hands shake these days, but we're going to see a draw very soon.
Yeah.
So what do you do if you're in Maxime's corner, Vichy? You're his coach for a second. How do you get him to kind of shake this one off? I guess at this point you have to go back to the drawing board and see for sure, was white really winning at some point? We kind of think maybe there was a chance.
Yes, I mean we thought instead of the line Wesley said seemed convincing, but
yep,
it was close enough.
Close enough to feel that Maxime, is going to regret this one a little bit.
It's always a pity when you add an extra move for more dramatic effect, and it turns out to be the one that weakened your position just enough not to make it work.
Right.
What can you do?
And well, Vichy, something that I always say during commentary is, of course, people miss things all the time. That's not the problem. But when you have so much time remaining and you rush the decision, and that's ends up being the wrong decision, it feels like you just kind of bash your head like, why didn't I spend of my 55 minutes I have compared to my opponent's 2.5 minutes? Why didn't I just spend 10 minutes looking at the position? It was clear that white was better or had the chances of any of the two players at that point. So I don't know. I frequently feel that sometimes people rush these decisions instead of taking a bit more time, and it comes back to bite them. Because Maxime, of course, can calculate very deeply and thoroughly, and if you give him that opportunity again, he switches his move.
Definitely. I mean, it's mistakes you can make in chess. But then again, it's much easier to see that with hindsight. I mean, sometimes when you're 100% convinced of something, why would you recheck it again?
Right.
And so that's also a problem. I think for Maxime, he simply and then very late it dawned on him this find resource, knight c3. Because it's the sting at the end of the tail, right? I mean, it's really not something you expect to happen.
Well, and I think you make a great point, Vichy. If I had to guess, and of course we'll probably find out in post-game interviews and make sure everyone reads the Chess.com news report. Peter Dockers will bring it to us, and I'm sure we'll have an answer of MVL's thoughts. But if I had to guess, I think he made the mistake right here before bishop a3 and maybe just missed that critical line with knight c3, right? That if you go for rook e4 now, the key point in this variation, if you're just joining us, everybody, was that black has this very, very tricky move, knight c3, creating a double attack, and white can't just go all in here. White would lose. And the key move for white was you had to find rook e4 before bishop a3, at least we think. And maybe just a small misstep there didn't seem like something you needed to double check. But ultimately it really hurt white. So, all right, a draw has been agreed, I'm told. No, not yet. Okay, a draw will happen on the board in moments.
What's happening with Fabi?
Look at that. Stalemate will happen. No. Yes.
That would be even prettier.
Yeah, play king c1. Let the stalemate. Okay, by the way, speaking of another draw, as MVL and Grischuk play it out, Ding Liren and Anish Giri,
okay,
they have also agreed.
okay.
The final moves there that we didn't follow happened here after Giri's rook a6.
By the way, the final move was a mistake, but it's a typical chessboard mistake, which is you put the king on the square to draw, and it turns out to be a blunder.
I was about to say that.
Games.
King
with
d5.
The king suddenly going to e5 in a pawn ending, but that's because it's...
Well, the move is king b4, right? Would be good for
Or just bishop a4.
Yes.
Bishop a4.
Well, king d5 is ridiculous.
We're analyzing, to tell all the fans who don't understand this joke, a made-up position, because at the end of a game with the big wooden boards you see, that's a DGT board, and the way the game is signified as a draw, they put the kings on central squares. Sometimes the transmission error can occur there where it looks like someone has played king d5, but of course that would be a losing move. The actual draw already occurred with the rooks just going back and forth. So the quick translation of an inside chess joke that I think a lot of fans don't quite know if they haven't played with a DGT board. What about this game with Fabiano and Nepomniachtchi? Are we getting... No, this is just...
I think this is a draw.
I feel like I brought bad luck. Every round has had a decisive game, and this might be our first round with all peace throughout the land.
Yeah, but after a6 and b5, I still don't see how it's... black can't really... It's too little.
Yeah.
But very good game, and queen e1 and f5 was very alert, because I mean, if you change queens and you solve all your problems immediately, a good defense. Because while we were watching it, it felt pretty unpleasant for black. So I think Nepo can be happy that he hauled this one in. Yeah.
Let's show that variation Vichy's talking about was the critical moment to analyze back here when. As you said, to us, it felt very unpleasant. Black had been under pressure for a while. You start seeing ideas. White plays queen f3, opening up mating threats, if you will. But black finds the very alert queen e1 and then f5, and suddenly the queen is frozen here. Any moves would allow a queen trade, and maybe black is better. So suddenly Fabi has to bail out into the lines we see where the queens are traded. We head to an endgame where we're expecting a draw. So... interesting stuff there. Very well defended by Jan, I agree.
Yep. And that's a good result for Jan, obviously drawing with the black pieces, but it will keep him in a share of first place unless something crazy happens in the final game. But that's obviously very important to hold off the highest rated player in the field, the pre-tournament favorite. But for Fabiano Caruana, another disappointing result. Of course, these players are all very strong and capable of taking on Fabiano, but after losing with the black pieces of Ding Liren, only being able to score a draw with white probably is not the feeling he wanted from his past two games.
Yep. What are your thoughts on Fabi's form at this point, Vichy? As far as we'll give you our perception we were talking about earlier. Sometimes it seems that a player can be very well prepared. He won this game with white versus Alexeyenko in the 4F3 Nimzo, which basically seemed like he got a winning position out of the prep. Then yesterday, the prep led him to this good position as black, finds this nice novelty, but ultimately didn't seem to be playing very well as black. Is there what insight can you give with that when a player feels like, hey, I'm well prepared, but I don't really feel like I'm playing well just yet in the event, or do you not see it that way?
Well, with the benefit of hindsight, I see that Fabi's preparation was nowhere as deep as we thought it was.
Oh, okay.
And in fact, he seems to be gambling. Now, I think that's very positive in terms of his attitude, but it wouldn't be gambling if you succeeded all the time. Once in a while, you have to fail, and that's what happened. So for the moment, I count Fabi as one of the top four in this, even though he's half point behind, because it's a long tournament, and he often scores heavily in the second half. So I think, well, it's just too early to start trying to explain this. There's still everything for him to play for. And
sure.
Yeah, and in a tournament at this level, you can't expect to win every white. That's it.
Right.
So no big deal, no biggie on that front either.
But on the other side of things, doesn't this give Jan continued confidence? I mean, he won his first game with black, and he
still hasn't lost.
Yeah, he still hasn't lost, and this is his third black in 4 games. Is that right?
Yeah, well, but Jan has every right to feel confident. I think he's also showing a very high level, and resourceful, playing well. He seems to be comfortable, and that augurs well for him.
Yeah. Well, the only other game going, if you're just tuning in, everyone, is the one between Wang Hao and Kirill Alexeyenko. We expect this one to also be a draw, despite the rook versus bishop in balance. Black has 2 pawns for the exchange and nothing really to worry about in the structure. And again, the one that we've been looking at here, the only way someone wins this is if someone blunders it away. So likely Black can sit tight. A6 and B5, creating a pass pawn, probably doesn't offer anything. Although there is, you said maybe there's, so in a dream world, if you're Jan, you get the B pawn, somehow you trade the B for the D pawn, and in the end, your king is closer to this side of the board, the king side where the pawns are, but likely that's just not a reality, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are fun variations where white goes to h7 and black plays king f7, and they just stalemate each other. So
right.
That, I can't see a line that anything can really happen here, and neither here.
Well, on that note, we will take your word for it and expect that both these games will peter out and let you go until another day occurs where you get to join us. Vichy, it's a pleasure. It's been awesome, and thank you for your thoughts again today. We can't wait to see you on the next show.
Thanks a lot. Pleasure as always.
Thanks, Vichy.
Bye.
are back here again. Chess.com's continued coverage of the 2020 FIDE Candidates Tournament reminds you of where we are. And 8 players that have not disappointed, although with that being said, we may be having our first round that is going to not deliver us a decisive result. So I apologize for bringing the bad luck with me, everybody. But we had a close one. That Radjabov replacement right there, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, will he look back ultimately as something he regretted here in round 4? But he still has great chances to be that guy who's going to face off against Magnus Carlsen, along with Wang Hao and Ian Nepomniachtchi. He will still be tied for the lead at the end of round 4. So these guys, Robert, I mean, I know we know they're the best players in the world. That's how they got here. But it's always fun to take a look at that and just remind ourselves of who's in this event and why this is so much fun to watch.
Yeah, there's 8 of the absolute strongest players on the planet. Vishy Anand is one of the best players in the world still to this day, former world champion. He's joining us for commentary, which is so fantastic. Players like Wesley So, one of the top players in the world. He is in the chat all the time. So there are a lot of players who, if they were in this field, you'd be like, yep, okay, it makes sense. You wouldn't feel like you're missing out on anything. And, of course, Timur Radjabov is the big asterisk because he was qualified for this event and then stepped out because of ongoing concerns, rightfully so, of COVID-19. But there's so many people who could be in this event, but only these 8 have qualified, or I should say 7 have qualified and 1 was given a wild card. But, very deserving players. And we've seen nothing but fighting, exciting chess. In this round, we are going to see 4 draws from 4 games, but that's not for lack of trying.
Crazy miracle here, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that no miracles are happening on this board. And we actually were given a quote because Maxime was interviewed after his game. And he said that he was unhappy with the result because it felt like he had a very dangerous initiative and Sasha didn't have much time. But to completely fair, I didn't see a clear win for me. And it's possible that Sasha just defended very well. I couldn't find more than a draw, so I went with it.
We can't wait to dive into that. For those of you who maybe haven't been following, we will recap quickly at the end where we think that critical moment was. I'll be doing Game of the Day analysis brought to you on our YouTube, Twitch, and everywhere channels. So if you've been following those videos, I'll be going right from this to recording that video. We're gonna dive a little bit into that and see if we can figure out where Maxime went wrong on that one. So check that out. If you haven't been subscribing to our content in other places, please do so. So let's remind everybody of how this game doesn't end. When Vishy was here, we were joking about the funny ideas of how you somehow win a king upon ending. We'll show why white shouldn't play a move like bishop f4, just to make it clear that going into a king upon ending where your opponent has an outside passer and you don't is how you would lose this kind of position. Although Vishy pointed out a funny line that maybe eventually there's some weird stalemates, but this would be an example where this pawn is won for this pawn, but black's king is ultimately closer. So those are the kind of things you don't play in these endgames. That's how you would lose. I'm really good at finding those kind of routes.
The benefit of having an outside pass pawn becomes very clear in king and pawn games, less clear with more pieces on the board. But when the material's whittled down, it's like your king is about to go on a journey out to catch that pawn, and then the enemy king will scoop up the rest of the material.
Well, let's keep the live board there above. I want to flash the other 3 games that finished, just to remind you. The only one continuing is between Fabiano Caruana and Ian Nepomniachtchi. We'll keep that there for you. The critical moment maybe in this game between MVL and Grischuk was way back in the position where, with tons of time pressure, maybe Maxime plays a little too fast here. It felt like one that black was just barely holding on. Though, to be fair, we couldn't find a knockout blow totally either. He ultimately goes for this forcing variation that doesn't yield enough, and they head for a rook ending that ultimately was held by Sasha Grischuk, and so that's how that one finished. The game between Wang Hao and Alexeyenko was agreed to a draw here despite the extra exchange. Nothing to do when your opponent has 2 pawns with the bishop and no real weaknesses for the rook to target. Everything by black is easily held. I think the most impressive draw was maybe by Ding Liren. Okay, no, Grischuk for sure. But we both felt, looking at the game earlier, I don't know where to go back to, but I mean, certainly on move 25 with a4, We felt that the pawn and the knight, Robert, this looked like a 2-result position that Ding Liren would squeeze. But Anish Giri made kind of quick work of this draw. Got to give him credit, right?
Yeah, he played as precisely as you can when you're in a position where only your opponent has winning chances. Perhaps it wasn't quite as bad as it looks, but optically it's very unpleasant there. That's a critical decision by playing knight e4, trading off the knights and getting rid of white's best piece and making the a4 pawn more vulnerable. So a nice decision there by Anish.
And that line led to more simplification. Ultimately, black's king was actually the more active of the two, and so it was a pretty easy decision. They repeated moves and eventually agreed on the draw. So that's our quick TLDR. Too long didn't read if you're one of the very few who might just be tuning in. Thanks to we had more than 12,000 of you at one point that have been with us throughout the day across a few different platforms and very active chats. We appreciate how engaged you guys are. We also had some active questions for you. We had a daily question, and then we had some active engagement on social media. Given how round 3 ended and Fabiano Caruana's very long, drawn-out loss versus Ding Liren, Wesley So I think was partly joking, but definitely drawing attention to the fact that Fabi could have resigned for many moves. We asked you guys whether you thought it was disrespectful at all, or if it ever should even be considered disrespectful. At Shrujit Varma 17 says it's a lot better than 2 super GMs accepting a draw in a not-so-draws position. Touche, Robert. I think that's a good answer.
Well, my feelings about the draw offer, as was heard around the world during round 12 of the 2018 World Chess Championship. But that is a very good answer. I'm with you there. And we have another answer by Suga Kusha saying it depends on the lost position.
I really thought you had let that one go, Robert. Anyway, continue. Go ahead.
In a queen and king versus king is disrespectful, of course, but in others, there's enough resources to give the opponent the last chance for mistake. Totally fair.
Yep. At Crispin said, nah, in other sports, you also don't just surrender if it's dead loss. I agree. I think a lot of people feel like maybe the opposite of our question, to be honest. I think a lot of people might feel like, they wish more games were played out to checkmate, right? I think that sometimes as hardcore chess fans, we can take for granted the fact that the position seems clearer to us than it does to people who are maybe just learning the game, and maybe sometimes playing it on farther is something people would appreciate. But anyway, interesting stuff. Thanks for playing along with us using the official hashtag. We will have more daily questions for you every day. Bishop D2 played now. These guys are going to tickle this one here for a little bit. B5 is played. If anybody has small winning chances, I guess we would say it is black, just because of what Robert said. An outside pass pawn does help at some point if you just play the fantasy game I did, where this king is somehow taking here and this king's taking here. Only black can win those types of positions. So, how does that get creative? We're thinking about it. Like, you got a bishop on d6 and you play b4, and eventually you try to force them away. But doing that actually, leaves your king in a passive spot. So most likely this game is just going to reach an optimal blockade setup for both sides, and they're just going to shuffle it out. So
they're going to shuffle exactly how you just did, like as if you're driving a car.
Mm-hmm. I say shuffle, you say noise, shuffle, noise, shuffle, noise. Wait, we're not, okay, let's go back to the chess. This is what happens when Danny joins official World Chess Championship FIDE Candidates coverage. We dance. So
I have no words for what just happened.
That blue shirt looks so good on you.
I have no words for what you just did. You left me speechless. That was awful.
That was not that awful.
People still
pretty
do that.
People still
I'm
do
pretty
that.
upset.
What?
Yeah, okay.
You know what's awful? I mean, go ahead, sorry.
No, we are going to take a short break because when we return, we do have a special interview coming your way. So no more of Danny dancing. You can dance away. We'll be back in just a few minutes. So stay tuned, everybody.
now joined by a very special guest, Grandmaster Kirill Alexeyenko, who just finished his game, a great game, if I don't say so myself, as black drawing against Wang Hao. Let me just ask Kirill, before we even get into this game, we're now 4 rounds in. How do you feel so far about your play at the 2020 FIDE Candidates?
It's not so bad, but of course it could be much better. I mean, I lost just 1 game and made 3 draws. Okay, yes, I mean, 2 days ago I had some winning chances, and that's it. I mean, in other games I had to struggle to make a draw, so yeah, I'm waiting for the white color finally.
Well, you've shown incredible defensive resourcefulness throughout this event. Your game against Grischuk in the first round had everybody just praising your tenacity. With that move, A6 in particular, we had Vichy on in the commentary, and he loved that move and that decision you made. So what's it been like? Do you feel like now that you're 4 rounds in that you're getting your comfort and it's just another tournament, or is there still nerves because it's such a big stage?
I think it's not about nerves. I mean, it's just quite difficult to equalize with black color. And I always got quite bad positions after the opening. So I had nothing to do as just trying to defend from the opening.
Well, to talk about this particular game, I've pressed play and let the fans who may just be joining us see a replay of your battle here with Wang Hao. But at what point did you feel like you started to get a bad position? We really.
Yeah, it's definitely must be Rook A6 move.
Rook A6 was not accurate. Okay, what do you think you should have done here?
I think I could take first on A4. Also, I have a move knight E4.
Okay.
Yeah, but maybe Queen A4 is just the most simple in this position.
So was there a miscalculation on Rook A6 after E3 and this variation with Bishop F1?
Yeah, but by the way, I also didn't like, instead of E3, Bishop A3 first. Bishop A3, Rook A8, and some ideas with Bishop B4, Queen A4, and Rook C7. I thought this is also quite interesting for white. Because now the black color bishop is on B4. It's just...
Right. White's bishop very strong, B7 hanging. Were you surprised at all at Wang Hao's decision to not take back on B3 with the knight? We spent a lot of time feeling that he actually maybe let his advantage slip by not playing the kind of obvious recapture, knight takes B3.
Yeah, but the trick is that after knight B3, I play Rook A8, then trying to change... No, Rook A8.
Oh, duh. Okay, yeah, sorry, Rook A8, yeah.
The Rook C8 is coming. Yeah, because after Rook C7, I think I have Rook B8, yeah. And then just... Okay, I also have B6, yeah, B6, yeah, of course.
As you didn't feel that he necessarily had a big enough advantage to claim winning chances in this endgame.
Yeah, despite I made a dubious move for K6, the position is still very solid, and I realized it's possible to defend anyway.
Okay. I was going to say, to take a step back then, even though you feel maybe that you could have been playing better, you feel like you've had some tough positions, is there maybe some advantage to the fact that through 4 rounds, you've had to think your way out of some tough spots, right? You found this really great resource against Grischuk. You've defended now a couple other tough games. And do you feel like maybe if you can get the white pieces, that your calculation and the fact that you're a little bit warmed up is going to help later on?
I hope so. I don't know how it will be, but yeah, at least it's not so bad as it was like after second game or after third game. Yeah. I think I started to find my own game, and it's getting better from the game to the game. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely appears to be the case. And as you look across this tournament here, are there the biggest surprise at the start was Ding Liren losing his first 2 games before kind of righting the ship. Is there anything been surprising to you, or is it just such a top level tournament that anything can happen in?
Usually I'm pretty sure he would never lose 2 first games, but in this war case he spent 2 weeks before the tournament in the quarantine. So yeah, anything can happen right now, and nobody knows. Maybe tomorrow the tournament will be postponed, or yeah, just we can't predict it.
Has that made it that made it even harder to feel kind of settled and prepare for the event with so much of the uncertainty going on and not being sure what's going to happen with everything happening with the COVID-19?
Yeah, but it's quite difficult to understand that at any point the tournament can be stopped.
Right. You
never know.
Well, even if that unfortunate though understandable case might happen, I would say that while you're there, you certainly deserve to be there. You won a rather brilliant game at the Chess.com FIDE Grand Swiss over someone named Robert Hess. Do you thank Robert Hess for being here in the candidates? Is Robert really the person to thank for your success?
Thank you, Robert.
I guess I did start your streak of good results in the Isle of Man, because you drew your first game.
That was my first win. Yeah.
and you went on to have a good event. But seriously, Kirill, you've been playing great, and we couldn't be happier for you. We wish you the best of luck and hope to have you again on the show. Really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kirill.
Thanks. Have a good one there. This is Kirill Alexeyenko, who courteous enough to join us. It's been awesome having these guys check in live from on site. And this young man has a very, very bright future in Russia. Only 22 years of age, so barely legal, which is reminding Robert of his favorite movie, Legally Blonde. And I was going to say before you went on unnecessary pop culture references that he's so nice that he almost made me say "you're welcome" for him beating me in the chess game. Like, he says thank you, and I wanted to be like, "Oh, you're welcome. You're very welcome." Like, wait, no, you're not welcome. I lost that chess game. I'm still a little upset about it. I don't think he saw where I was going with it, because I prefaced it with, like, the preparation and, like, you've won a lot of great games, but no win more important than Grandmaster Robert Hess. I love that. I don't think he saw where I was going.
No, but he's a very kind guy. I mean, we analyzed the game afterwards, and we spoke at the tournament. Just I feel like he's unnecessarily received some flack. Like, the fact that he's the wild card was out of his control, and he did everything in his power. Played good chess, played the game, studied hard, and he was chosen the wild card, and he was performing so well that he was even eligible for a wild card spot. So I think it's unfortunate for the individual. Maybe the system has some problems, but for Kirill Alexeyenko himself, he's done nothing but play great chess over the last couple of years. And a lot of people have their eyes on him. Maybe this won't be his candidates tournament to win and end up playing Magnus Carlsen in the World Championship, but he held his own against Magnus in their head-to-head game in the Isle of Man, and he's proven game after game here that he is fighting. And he does have to work on his openings with the black pieces. He was the first to say that. But today wasn't one of those days, but he just had this inaccuracy with rook a6. And he's fortunate the position was so solid that didn't cost him anything major. But in other games, that certainly will cost him. So he needs to right the ship in that regard.
Yeah, and you said, I mean, obviously the system, might deserve some flack, and those a lot of things go into organizing the FIDE Grand Prix and all that stuff. But overall, I think you could also understand why the organizers chose him. He's only 22 years old, right? He may be the bright and shining star for the future of Russia and their top chess players, right? So, this is certainly, whether he wins the event or not, we're not saying he may not, but certainly a great opportunity for him, and we expect him to continue to be a major star in the chess world for years to come. He'll be playing for Team Russia versus Team USA in an upcoming team chess event we're going to have here on the site as well. So for those of you who are becoming Alexeyenko fans, look for him to be more a part of some stuff we're doing here on Chess.com. So, all right, not really anything has changed here. As we've predicted, this is going to be a bit of a staring contest. White's not going to risk going for anything that allows black to win the D pawn and then win the king and pawn ending. Outside pass pawn tricks will not be something Fabi falls for. But at the same time, there's no real progress for Jan to make, right? No way to force White into ideas like that. So,
what's amusing to me, Danny, is that Jan rushes decisions in harder positions than this, and in this game, he's spending time right now in a position that looks like there's no progress to be made. So curious indeed, but he's entitled. He's trying to win this tournament, face Magnus Carlsen, and I just don't see anything. He's got the blockade. If the bishop goes to b6 to prevent the king from going to c5, then the king comes to e5. If the bishop goes to d6, like you were mentioning earlier, the king and bishop cannot share a square, and you would like to have both the king and the bishop on d6, not happening. So the king lacks access. Anytime you play b4, that pawn will be captured. Like if your bishop goes to d6 and play b4, the king will run over, and this is not amounting to anything. So the position looks
I'll give a theory on why I think Jan is slowing down here. I think that sometimes when you were on the worst side of a game for the majority of it, and you defended resourcefully, now you're the only one who can maybe win, and you kind of want to let that feeling sit for a bit, right? I mean, even if he understands it's far-fetched to believe that Fabi doesn't hold this thing, and Black is like, well, I'd love to think of some crazy way that I use this outside pass pawn and eventually win an endgame. And if nothing else, I'm just going to let Fabiano sit in a position that he has no chances to win for a little bit. I think some of that stuff pays dividends down the road, maybe psychologically. I don't know.
But Fabiano's also not thinking, right? He's just moving because he knows this position is completely level. So I definitely get what you're saying. It's nice to stew in a position where you have the upper hand, but right now feels like a situation where they both know the draw is coming. And well, maybe dinner isn't open yet. That could be part of it, right?
And chat can continue to ask questions if there's some things about this that you don't understand, and maybe Rob and I are taking for granted. I see a question from Coin Up something asking about giving check here. This would be a move you have to be careful about. You don't want to check the king into an entry point on the king side, right? Where something like king f6 and king g7, that would be a way you lose this game. So part of the reason we're saying it's a draw is that we don't expect those types of moves to be played by either side, right? That would, roads for Black to lose would be to force this white king in. Roads for White to lose would be for White to eventually overcommit to this side of the board and eventually allow Black to win over here. Neither side is going to allow that, right? What you're going to see is a staring contest, an opposition stance over here on the D file, and most likely it's just going to be a shuffling until we have 3-move repetition. But if there's other questions you want to ask, keep it up. Shout out to the chat. We've had a lot of you active and with us all day, and we do appreciate your support.
We just got a great question now that you asked questions. And the question is, would a bishop exchange still be a draw? Now, it depends on how those bishops are exchanged. So if Black were to play, bishop b6 check, but...
Okay, he's going to meet king e5 with bishop d8, but yeah, good.
But I was going to say, if Black were to play bishop d6 instead of b6, and then let's say bishop, where does my bishop go? A5.
Let's bring up the analysis board and take a deeper look at it. So let's say you want to look at bishop d6 instead of what was played.
Yeah, just to show that king and pawning. Bishop a5.
Yeah.
b4. b4.
b4, king c4.
King c4. So this is bad for Black because when the bishop trades on b4 and the king takes on b4, you need your king to already be on d6 if you're Black, so you can capture on d5. But let's say you make a move like bishop f8, you'll win my h-pawn. That's what you need to do. But the bishop trade itself doesn't work out because my king comes back to defend my passed d-pawn, and then White is ahead. So you'd have to be able to capture on d5 before the king gets back, so your king could then run over to the other pawns. And this would
and again, to be fair, Black won't play b4. Position like this, you actually have to be careful about things like bishop f4 in some cases, although still probably likely a draw. But bishop b6 check was played, and I had just responded to a question in chat saying this is not a move you're going to see because king e5 in here. But after king e5, I guess the move you don't want to play is yet another check. Don't chase the king into f6 where it can come to g7. So I'm expecting after king e5, bishop d8, and nothing has really changed in the position at all.
Right. Because that white king will then have to go back towards that b pawn. Because what you don't want to have happen is bishop e7, pawn b4, and then your king is like slower to get back. And the bishop on d2 will be stuck defending the kingside pawn as it's on the square of the dark colored bishop. So the bishop can sit on f8 and attack that pawn. And if you're not careful, but the white king will rush back over the queen side and tie the black bishop down. So essentially, neither side has the opportunity to accomplish what they're seeking to achieve. And in that case, likely they will just be repeating moves.
And maybe bishop b6 check is the start of that. If king e5 is met by bishop d8 and Fabi just goes back, maybe we'll see a repetition occur immediately with something like bishop to b6 check, and no progress to be made. So,
yep.
If you're just tuning in, this has been round 4 of the 2020 FIDE Candidates. As you can see, all games were drawn. The game that probably had us mostly on the edge of our seat was MVL's battle versus Alexander Grischuk. Look for some game of the day video action coming your way on our YouTube, Twitch, and other channels. So make sure you're subscribing to those. We're bringing you daily video reviews of the biggest games in addition to our live coverage. So I'm going to be diving into that one with some analysis right when our show's done. In fact, maybe you should just close it out and I can get started, because I got a lot of work to do. Got to analyze the game, record a video. You probably got nothing else to do after this. You're probably taking a nap.
Probably. I'm definitely taking a nap. Don't you act like you don't know what I'm going to do. We've been doing commentary together for years. So don't come here being like, oh, you close this out. I don't know what you're up to later. You know exactly what I'm up to later. Yeah. And yet you're trying to play all innocent. And you don't
I'm not playing innocent at all. Just trying to bring out
you
that.
You don't get to miss the first 3 days, the first 3 rounds of commentary. They come in here and try to slack off and leave early. No, sir. You're staying to the very end.
I would never do that to you. I was testing you. Now I know you want me, so I'll stay. I get, like any good toxic relationship, I'm constantly testing our love. Anyway, let's remind everybody of the love that our Deep Insights pull out. Our analysis tool over at chess.com/analysis gives us in-depth statistical breakdowns of what's going on, the game within the game, if you will. From round 3, we had some interesting reports. Not a huge surprise that this game arc stayed close to equal the entire time. Neither one of these guys really gave an inch, and therefore the game ended in peace. Remember, you can see our breakdowns. We often have this stuff going on our news reports. I share some individual stats when we do game of the day videos, and you can run any game you want through Chess.com's analysis tool to get your own kind of breakdowns. The big one was Ding Liren versus Fabiano Caruana. That was the one that really revealed by far Fabiano's worst game statistically to this point. Very low accuracy score for him. H6 was the move that was given the biggest deficit marks. I actually think there were some earlier mistakes in that game, Robert, that also caused his eventual loss. But your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, H6 was the move that I most heavily criticized during the live analysis. And that doesn't mean that there weren't other mistakes. But at that moment, when he still had a position that was all right for him, he played H6. And that's when it really started tanking. The evaluation went up and up, as you see there, for Ding Liren. And he was just like walking up a staircase, just an escalator there. And it was an insurmountable advantage by the end. So for Ding Liren, it was the comeback he needed. For Fabiano, it was perhaps the start of a subpar 2-game streak here, but there's so much time left in this tournament that plenty of chances for all.
The other game that ended in peace was Anish Giri's battle versus Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. A balanced evaluation. I like that. I like that term, balanced. No real blunders from either side. No even inaccuracies from either side. That seems like what we call a forced prepared draw borderline. Nothing really to that one. Our last draw. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that was a peaceful affair. But the next game that we have the numbers for Grischuk and Wang Hao, that was anything but. Grischuk had an advantage throughout. And as you see, G5, essentially Grischuk was so upset with himself because he's like, I saw this idea that was followed up, G5 with knight e4 check. I saw it in a different position. I knew it didn't work then. And in the position he allowed it, he just forgot that suddenly it could work. And he spoiled what was a nice looking position, an advantage he could have pressed forever, but he allowed immediate liquidation in a draw. So the numbers don't lie, and Sasha Grischuk doesn't lie.
I know your lie.
Because my lips are moving.
Oh, I thought it was going to be a cue. Get your lips moving on camera there. King D3 played instead of King E5. I wonder. What's
I love
the
it how
dealio?
I reacted to your pop culture reference, and then you changed back to the chess. So now I know how this works. That when I actually join in with you, you don't want to play anymore. You just want me to you just want to test me.
I want you to want me. Some would even say I need you to need me.
Oh my gosh.
I'd love for you to love me.
Oh.
And I'm definitely begging you to beg me to get back on chess here. Okay, king to d6 is going to be met by king e4, followed by bishop f4. So there's really nothing to it. I don't know what else to say besides we're trying to squeeze water out of a stone here to keep this thing entertaining. Come on, that was a song reference you haven't heard in a while. Begging you to bet. I got good.
Oh my gosh, I just didn't need your cheap tricks here.
Yep. Is there anything going on here that we're missing?
That one just went over your head. You thought I was making a chess reference, but Cheap Trick is the band that sang that song.
Oh, that did go over my head.
Oh, poor Danny.
Well, there's still no progress to be made. I guess both sides are kind of opening up the door of inviting the other to play for a win almost. Kind of weirdly.
They just don't want to admit the draw.
I think bishop f4 will be played to hold the d6 square. Nope, bishop c3 is going to allow king d6 because it can be met by king e4 and then bishop check. So it doesn't matter. Neither wants to play the most obvious moves that just prevent progress and make a draw. They want to continue to invite and entice some potential blunder, like b4 would probably not be the best move, I'm guessing, because then white can move and then try to get king c4. So
actually, that's a really instructive moment. So b4,
okay,
bishop d2, king d6, king c4, b3. There's bishop f4 check, which kicks your king back before I take your pawn.
Yeah, a key that you don't take the bishop, by the way, everybody, because b2 and suddenly black is winning. But you kick the king back and then take the pawn, and there's no d5 trade. So what's interesting is even this probably has some drawing chances, although certainly white would be the one trying to win. Actually, probably would be winning with the extra d pawn and eventual threats of entry to the king side. So again, neither side is going to blunder here. Neither side is really going to give an inch, and neither me nor Robert will miss an opportunity to remind you to hang out with us for the rest of March and into April, because we don't have a lot of other friends. So tell all of your friends to join us and be with us for the entire FIDE Candidates Tournament here on Chess.com.
That was really sad, trying to have people pity you to join you. You should join the show every single time because it's fun, it's entertaining, there is a lot of educational aspects to chess analysis, and there's Danny making silly puns that really don't need to be made, and yet we're all here for them. So how was that, Danny? Did I pitch that well enough?
You did great. Thank you. Thank you.
But this game, though.
Yeah,
so this game.
This game.
I think Jan and Fabi are playing this out because they know that they'll get puns from you at this stage. They've seen enough of your commentary.
They're just keeping us on camera. Well, let's, jokes on them. Let's actually get something out of this time together. Well, actually, let's keep the analysis board up so that we can leave them behind and go check out. I just want to go back and analyze this MVL game. This is all I can't stop thinking about this one. I want to figure out where the win was, if anything. And it's not just because I'm doing a video of it right after the show here.
I think that is why you're doing this.
That's exactly why I'm doing it, actually. So let's get a preview into my analysis. So I think that up to this point, we had a pretty good feel. The thread was pretty obvious in terms of where white's compensation was going to be on the F file. I mean, this point here where H5 and G4 came, we were really calling for it. But now after Rook H8 and A4, yeah, I want to look at this line again with Rook E4. How does black hold this? Okay, you can't move the bishop, lose the knight. Just to point out the obvious for everyone, things with B5 are consistently losing. You could give check or sack the exchange right away. The point is that we win the F7 pawn and have a huge attack. So the only move on Rook E4 was bishop to E6 pretty consistently. If you trade here, black takes here and then wins the H pawn with 2 pieces for the rook. Black is probably doing fine. So we thought knight takes E6. And after F takes, Rook G5. And the point is the knight is hanging. Oh, no. The point was not Rook G5. The point was the bishop G5 check.
Yep.
Huh.
And then after king e8, rook f3, which, I mean, this is so hard to think about because all the other moves, like rook g5 came with a tempo against the g7 pawn. This is just trying to get to f7 and then eventually get to e7. So that's why bishop g5.
Robert, you talk about this a lot. What are the hardest things to consider? Okay, you're doing this in your head, you're calculating as deeply as you can. In a variation like this where you're trying to prove compensation, you're already down a pawn as white. It's hard to consider lines that will involve a crucial move at some point of a retreating rook to f3 that holds the c3 square, right? It's just such a hard thing to see ahead of time.
Right, and you're actually down 2 pawns, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, now you're down 2 because the a pawn just fell, right?
Yeah, so you're down 2 pawns, and you're not even going with direct threats. You're just saying that if I land a rook on f7, and then that rook is going to get to e7, you're toast. But to have the foresight to come up with that is really difficult because you're visualizing these positions. You don't make the moves on the board and say, oh, I don't really like the way this looks, and take it back. That's what commentators get to do. And so as a player, you're thinking about all these things. You're thinking about, oh, rook g5 here attacks g7. Wait, rook g5 doesn't work? And then you kind of discard the variation. And that's where it becomes tricky because you're going down so many different branches of moves. You're not just compartmentalizing and saying, all right, I'm storing this. After this f takes e6, let me look for other moves. You kind of just throw it away because you have so much other analysis to do. And that's a shame. And MVL, he understood that he was better. He was pressing, and he gave credit to Grischuk for defending well. And Sasha did defend well, but he left something on the table.
Shout out to T3 MPOZ says, you guys made me find a love for chess. Thank you. Robert.
Are you crying?
No.
Those onions, man. Who's cutting those onions?
Man, who just came in the office and started cutting onions? God.
Just so sad.
Jokes aside, thank you everyone that's here. We appreciate you watching. So, it's been honestly a great tournament. The chess has been very exciting. Every round has delivered a decisive game, at least one until this round, where as you can see that live position squeeze between Fabiano Caruana and Ian Nepomniachtchi. Assuming that game ends in a draw, and that we're not about to see a crazy blunder from anyone, then this will be our first round with only draws. But as we were showing here, and again, the critical point here is when this knight moves or gets defended, the doubling on the f-file for white. Rook f7, rook e7 is a very strong threat. Although, look at this. Knight to b6 and then into d5, maybe?
Or then you take g7, and then you probably promote the h-pawn. h6, h7.
I thought maybe, obviously, if you're holding the most devastating part of the threat, there is always the, running of the a-pawn over here. But likely white is just too fast. So a5, h6, a4, h7 is, it's actually just very quickly game over. So, wow. Well, we'll find out whether Maxime really did miss that opportunity or actually, let's take a look, actually. Look at that. Our team working super hard has already run this game through our server-side, very in-depth game report. And guess what? Bishop a3, indeed, was the blunder, was the missed opportunity. And that means, in the critical position we were talking about, that rook e4 was the critical move order. As Wesley So said at the time, he was hanging out in the game chat. Thanks for Wesley. Even when he's not joining us, Robert, on camera, he's bringing value to the show. We appreciate Wesley tuning in. He's just here for you. He told me. He's got that full closet full of I Heart Robert Hess, and I'm Robert Hess #1 fan shirts. He rotates on odd days.
So strange.
But Wesley, seriously, Wesley did give us a couple of critical lines. If you're just tuning in, he was analyzing, hanging out in the Chess.com chat, that Bishop a3 check first, and then rook e4 didn't work because we first thought this was winning, Robert and I, and the key was this looked very devastating. Both the knight and the pawn are hanging, but Black has this really surprising in-between move, and you can't take g7 because then you would lose material. And that seems to be holding everything. With that in mind, we are pretty sure bishop a3 was played too quickly by Maxime, meaning maybe he missed that exact idea, and if he had taken more time, maybe would have seen the move order there. But again, it's very hard to be critical when, as Vichy said when he was with us, right? It's really difficult when you're pretty sure you're winning with a line to not just go for it. But in the end, rook e4 looks like it would have been better because now bishop e6 can be met by a different idea instead of rook g5, bishop g5, and rook f3. This is just amazing, but add that to the list of things that have been exciting from this tournament. Maxime missing a win here maybe as white in round 4.
Yep.
Well, I got nothing else. I'm looking at the game between Caruana and Nepomniachtchi and just thinking that it's just time to go home.
Yeah, they're just, kind of moving back and forth here. But they're not moving back and forth so that they're repeating the position. They're just moving and not repeating. So that means no draw can be reached until they repeat 3 times.
Oh, man. I love you, chat. I know sometimes that we don't get along. I just want to tell you, I'm happy you're here, chat. There's even like 2 people over on Mixer. One of them's watching Ninja and the other one's watching us, man. Pretty exciting.
My cricket sound effect is not working, so I'll just should I just say cricket, cricket.
Working hard or hardly working, eh, Mac? Right? But shout out to the team working super hard with these events. Seriously, we got a long event ahead of us. I'm gonna have to calm down my adrenaline, or like I'm gonna hit that crash at some point. You know what I mean? Hit the wall.
You were up very early today. That's for sure.
2:30 a.m. to be exact. What time is it? It's 8:50.
The follow up to any time you say a time, it's like, do you know where your kids are? But you probably do because they're at home.
They're probably sleeping here on the West Coast. One of the things they don't do a lot of is wake up and watch Dad's chess shows. Believe it or not,
disappointed in them.
Shocking as that sounds. All right, King C7. Do we have a liftoff here? Nope.
Is he trying to bring the king in?
Yep, that's what I wanted. I want to play King B6 and work my way around.
But I think as soon as your king gets to B6, so like go Bishop G7.
Okay.
Bishop G7, King B6, Bishop E5. So I wait until your king gets to B6, and now you can't trade because my D pawn is very fast.
What a fun line it would be. Some king and pawn ending where white is winning because he's queening with check. Oh, or is he? The draw, actually.
No, it's winning for white, probably.
Queen with check, and then you convert the queen and pawn ending.
At the very least, I can go win your H7 pawn, but there's probably...
you have a typical kind of...
But don't go to B4, go to B6.
Ah, okay. But worst case scenario, white converts with something like this, and this is probably actually an easily winning ending.
Yep, just bring the king in.
Yep, so. All right, so point proven. You can't just offer a trade. Although now he plays bishop G5. Is he planning on meeting king B6 with bishop D8 check, maybe?
Yep.
Okay.
So king B6, bishop D8. Is there anything that black can do to try to escape this? Doesn't look like it. Now I'm seeing more ways to almost lose for black than to win.
Yeah, he's pushing a little bit.
Or it's king D3, king C3, or king wherever.
I mean, black can still just... Actually, wait. Robert's making a good point here. If you move the bishop, maybe you allow me to advance D6?
Yeah, but your king goes to b6. Like, the thing is, we're just kind of repeating the position a million times.
And it's exactly what we said 20 moves ago. They're just tricking us into thinking this could possibly be exciting, which is if either side pushes for a win, that's how they could lose. But otherwise, this is frozen territory. So we're going to make like Elsa and let it go. We're going to take a very, very quick break. When we come back, we will likely be wrapping up the last game going here in round 4, giving you our final thoughts. Don't go anywhere. More of Chess.com coverage of the FIDE candidates in just a couple minutes. those of you starting to think about what you're going to do with the rest of your Saturday, don't worry. You can stay in touch with this incredibly exciting game between Fabiano Caruana and Ian Nepomniachtchi on the go. All you have to do is download the Chess.com app, click the Watch tab, find the game, and there you have it. You can see that's a screenshot from my very own profile right there at the top. I recognize that little icon, that little avatar. That picture is way out of date. I have got to change that. But thanks for being with us this game, Robert. At this point, I think you're with me, and let's just hope one of these guys blunders.
I don't root for blunders. I'm not you.
Whatever.
Just because they called you the one-hit blunder when you were a kid doesn't mean that you got to take it on other people.
I told you that in confidence.
I just came up with a new Danny's high school nickname for you.
The problem is it's just not accurate. I've made so many blunders. It's just like, but otherwise it's great.
Yeah, but how many of them are famous?
Touche.
Right?
Yep. By the way, look at that. Look at him calling the bluff of the H-pawn. King D4 says, take it. And again, allow D6, where suddenly black might be losing. The
Yeah. You seem like you're really full of thought right now.
I was just going to say, it's just a game of tickle. And
who's Elmo in this equation?
Always tickle me. Always. The shout out to everybody with us. Obviously, if you have any questions, not to say this is an AMA, but obviously we have a very, very long event ahead of us. Still 9 more rounds to go. 10 more rounds, 9 more. Doing the math apparently is not my thing, but we've got many, many days ahead here of coverage from the FIDE candidates. We'll bring up the full schedule to remind you that Robert and I will be back at it tomorrow. Or no.
Yep.
Yes, tomorrow, March 22nd, round 5, 23rd, round 6, another free day, 3 days apart. But as you can see, we will be rolling through this thing into early April. And we hope you tune in and watch every day. If you happen to be a newcomer to the channels, wherever you're watching, please hit that subscribe, hit that follow button. We do appreciate it.
And this game is officially over.
Officially, just in time for us in that final schedule shout out that we did. But there you have it. Round 4 does indeed end in peace. Our first round of the 2020 FIDE candidates that did not have at least one decisive result. Check out our YouTube channel where it'll be published first, but it'll make its way to other portals as well. I'm going to have an in-depth review of Maxime Vachier-Lagrave's maybe failed winning chances against Alexander Grischuk coming up. But Robert, take us to the standings here and remind everybody of where we stand after 4 completed rounds.
Well, united we stand. But in addition to that, Danny, you have Ian Nepomniachtchi can be ecstatic about his performance thus far. He has had 3 black games out of the first 4, yet you see him there tied for first with Maxime Vachier-Lagrave and Wang Hao. Anyone in first place is going to be happy, but Maxime started with 2 whites. He drew Fabiano, beat Ding Liren, and then drew this game against Alexander Grischuk with white. So Ian is at 3 blacks. Maxime is at 3 whites. Clearly, as we go forward, this should be advantageous for Ian, who gets the first move advantage in more games down the stretch. So Wang Hao played a solid game. We had Kirill Alexeyenko in the interview. He said, I thought I was okay no matter what. But there was that slight pull, a missed opportunity, and Wang Hao missed an opportunity in round 2 against Nishigiri from a clearly better position. And today he could have pressed for more, but unfortunately for him, he went awry and didn't get anything to speak of. And well, as we go down the rest of the standings, Danny, what do you think? What do you make of it? Caruana in the middle of the pack.
I think you highlighted one of the most critical points as far as, we're obviously, like all the rest of the viewers, there's still so much chess ahead. It would be fool's gold to pretend that we have a clear idea yet about anything. But I think if we were highlighting one critical storyline is that Ian Nepomniachtchi has probably played the best chess overall of anybody. At least he gets my vote to this point. And the fact that he's also done that, Robert, with 3 out of 4 blacks. Right, his lone victory coming from the first round with the black pieces. And so if you had to just pick somebody at this point who's put themselves in the best position, I think we would agree that Ian Nepomniachtchi seems to be that person. But again, so many rounds to play. Anything can happen. Sometimes you see a player start to find their form, not even until the back half of the event, right? That's why it's a double round robin, and the players will get chances at each other with both colors. So, Caruana and Grischuk right there in the middle of the pack with 2 points. But as we said, I mean, Ding Liren, Gary Alexeyenko, all three of those guys would tell us they wish they'd played better chess to this point. But the fact that they're only a full point behind, better days maybe yet to come for any one of our 8 competitors. So I believe we have our pairings for tomorrow to preview for you. So you're sitting here wondering, well, what do we have in store tomorrow, Dan? Well, I'm going to tell you. We start out with Giri versus Caruana. That'll be an interesting one. Anish Giri getting the white pieces. Fabiano switching to black there. Any thoughts on that one?
I think Anish Giri will play it solidly. I'm not saying he's afraid of Fabiano Caruana, but Anish at -1 right now, he obviously would love to score a victory over the world number 2. But right. Fabiano, he's the stronger of the 2 players right now, let's be honest. And I think for Anish, you don't want to take too much risk. He didn't take a risk in round 1 when he had great preparation, but he did lose that game. So while he's still kind of getting going in this tournament, I don't think he's going to try to knock out Fabiano Caruana, and Fabiano Caruana is a tough customer anyway.
Right. Alexander Grischuk will get the white pieces against Ding Liren. That'll be an interesting one. Obviously, Grischuk having had 4 draws at this point, and if anybody feels kind of robbed, I guess, having not gotten a victory yet, it might be Grischuk. He's played very well. Today, of course, he was worse out of the opening against MVL, but overall, he's been the guy pressing in most of his games. So now with the white pieces yet again, what kind of tough game is Ding Liren in store for? But that's a guy who's definitely playing better than he was at the start of the event, right? So not much more to add to that one, besides it's going to be an exciting one. Of course, Grischuk sitting at 2 points, Ding Liren trailing at 1.5. Both those guys desperately needing a victory to stay with the leaders. Speaking of the leaders, one of them has maybe the best chance to kind of spread his wings and fly a little bit.
Before
again,
you continue,
paper.
Danny, I'm going to cut you off because Maxime has the black pieces against Alexeyenko. So I know what you were going to say. I was just trying to correct you before you made that mistake.
Even so, I was going to say he, on paper, is playing the lowest rated player. So, if you're looking for an opportunity, I guess, to get a victory, sometimes you think about it like that. But I'm glad you corrected me because, yes, with the black pieces, harder to say that even if you're leading the tournament that you should be expecting a win.
And Alexeyenko is a very solid player. He has a great approach to the game, one that I really respect. Yep. And against Ian Nepomniachtchi, when he had his only white pieces of the event. So like Nepomniachtchi, Alexeyenko has had 3 blacks from his first 4 games. He said, I've been struggling with the black pieces, but give me some white pieces and then maybe we can talk. And so he gets white against MVL, who is a predictable player in terms of his opening repertoire. So Alexeyenko has white against MVL, and I'm looking forward even to round 6 when Alexeyenko gets another white against Anish Giri. This is the time for Alexeyenko to gather his confidence and start pressing his opponents.
Yeah, it would be an interesting storyline for sure if the lowest rated player got his first victory and took down one of the tournament leaders. The battle, I think, of the round, though, has got to be the one between the other 2 tournament leaders. Nepomniachtchi taking on Wang Hao. Other than MVL, as we said, those are the 2 other guys sitting at 2.5 out of 4 right now atop the leaderboard. Ian Nepomniachtchi getting white for only the second time in 5 games. Going to be exciting to see what the what it's all capable of. The man bun, it all. I think Jan brings it tomorrow.
They have a very short history, those 2, because they've played, I don't even know if they've played a dozen games, maybe probably less than 10. I don't know the exact number, but somehow those 2 players have avoided each other. And I agree with you. Jan seems to be in good shape in this event. He had what looked like a tough position out of what honestly seemed to be great preparation from Fabiano today. Low risk with some upside. He made sure to hold on. He just eliminated all of the play that Fabiano thought he had. So Ian Nepomniachtchi gets the white pieces against Wang Hao. I'm with you. That's the match of the round for sure. And I do believe that Ian Nepomniachtchi will try to take it to Wang Hao and gather a lead in this tournament because he doesn't want to be tied for too long. He wants to score a very important victory and leave people behind in the dust.
Yep. Well, can't wait. It will be Sunday. We hope to have all of you with us and more. So make sure you tune in to Chess.com's coverage tomorrow. On behalf of my team here, the staff working behind the scenes and the production crew, of course, all of our mods and those helping out to keep the show fun and safe for everyone. We really appreciate it. So, for Grandmaster Robert Hess, International Master Danny Rensch, we will see you tomorrow with more coverage of the 2020 FIDE Candidates Tournament.